Scott, thank you for joining me here at Choose Your Question headquarters. I really appreciate it.
You knew I was a little hesitant to do this, right?
I know, I can still feel the hesitation. It means a lot to me that you're here, though. I appreciate it.
Well, it means a lot that you asked me. So thank you.
Well, I'm glad it means a lot to both of us. What are your 3 facts about yourself that you have prepared?
Oh, I didn't. But three facts. No, I know you sent a little advance thing for me to do my research or self-examination.
Just 3 things about yourself that are, sort of important for people to know about you in order to kind of understand you and.
Yeah. So I think the most important part is I'm a parent.
Yeah.
So that's been the driving. That's been my most pressing role for 25 years now. So a proud parent of 2 adult daughters. So that's sort of a fact that I think is important. The second fact would be that I'm a lifelong Texan for the most part. Not born and raised, but came here pretty quick in my life. So I think clearly it's a state that shapes people,
Yeah.
for better or worse.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's part of my background. And then a third fact would be just that I've been pretty steady in my career, and my professional life has all been in the juvenile justice arena. So I think that might be informative as well.
Yeah. I think each person that I've talked to who is a parent, that is the first thing that each of them have said. It's such a life-defining thing to be a parent.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And it can be all-consuming at some point. And I was naive enough to think that it somehow would get easier. And
Right.
I think we've talked about this before, that it doesn't seem any easier.
It evolves.
Yeah.
And it's hard in different ways.
Yeah, it's less expensive, and it's not an every minute thing like parenting a toddler. But I just as an example, I drove back from Lockhart from a Friday evening thing, and there was some really terrible drivers on the road, and my thoughts instantly went to my kids are both out in this driving. So to me, that's just a little example how you continue to worry, and you continue to, and you think, have you, very mundane, have you taught them how to drive?
Right.
When people are driving crazy, how many times can you tell your kids to stay out of the left passing lane without it?
Right.
Do they absorb any of that? So,
And you have 2 girls,
right.
and their ages are
25 and 22.
25, 22. So you're a hashtag girl dad.
I guess so.
How was that, raising girls?
I was petrified at first, because I think when we were Karen and I learned that we were going to have children, and then we didn't leave it as a mystery. Karen wanted to know what the sex was, and so when I first heard girl, I was pretty taken aback that I wasn't going to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
Just because your experience as a man is boyhood, and you think you might have a better grasp on that. So I was petrified, but soon into the experience, I wouldn't have changed. I know you're a father of 2 boys, so we can get into which is better. But I think it may have been easier, and there might have been an inclination to live through your boys a little bit more than your girls, because they're so different. But that new experience was, I wouldn't have done it differently.
Yeah.
Not that I had any choice in what was going
Right.
to happen, but having girls was great.
I feel like girls would benefit from having a dad like you. I feel like you are you would have been a great dad no matter who your kids ended up being, but I think you're a great girl dad because you yourself you model so many of the characteristics, assuming kind of a heterosexual relationship between a man and a woman, you model so many of the characteristics that a that I feel like a man should be toward whatever partner he has. And I think that has set a bar for your daughters to kind of seek out, maybe. I admire that about you.
That's nice, and that feels awkward to get that compliment, but I appreciate you saying that, at least from your perspective of how you've
Yes,
seen I've parented and maybe not done so well on sometimes. The girls would maybe argue differently on occasion, but I think they would argue over minor things.
Yeah.
And I don't think any criticisms that they might have of me were hopefully are pretty little nuanced criticisms and nothing in the core of how we've raised them.
Or just the sort of criticisms that any kid would have about any parent.
Yeah.
You know, dad's weird or whatever.
Yeah. And I say things inappropriately, not awful, but things that catch their attention.
Yeah.
What's surprising is one is more inclined to maybe be critical of me, and I think the other one will support me, that like I made them a simple mistake of saying something wrong or out of context. But despite them having really different personalities, they tend to stick together in their criticism of me. Sometimes I think I'll get a break from one of them, but it doesn't really happen.
I've heard before that your kid is 1/3 you, 1/3 their other parent, and 1/3 themselves. I mean, that's obviously an oversimplification of things. Has that played out for you? Is that kind of how you've seen it, or do they lean one way or the other more?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I haven't really thought of it in those like measured
right.
third and a third, but yeah, they definitely share traits of us as parents, but they definitely march to the tune of their own drummers.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely are individuals.
Yeah.
But yeah, they bring stuff which gets into the nurture and nature type thing of parenting. But
and birth order and
the whole
thing.
Which I've heard people have looked into that birth order and none of it seems credible. I don't know where I heard that about the second kid having this characteristic of the first.
That seems like the kind of a thing now to talk about birth order.
Yeah.
We can debunk all of that now.
I think we could. I don't know how we'd do it. But
you're a big debunker. You like to debunk.
I'm a contrarian by nature.
We used to say gadfly at work. We kind of have moved away from that.
Yeah. Our work environment doesn't allow a lot of gadflying.
That's right. Contrarians.
Yeah, we come in and, for anybody that's watching this, we work in a environment that is not, we don't have our own cubicles or offices. It's sort of they call it hoteling. Is that the concept for it? Yeah.
Apparently that's a verb now, hoteling.
Yeah. I don't get a mint under my pillow. The question box.
That's right, the question box. Are you ready to choose a question from the question box?
I guess so.
Okay.
This is sort of like the Hot Ones series.
That's right. One of my other people mentioned the Hot Ones. Said he was expecting a plate of wings to be here on the table.
So just dig in?
Yeah, just dig in and pick one out.
If there's something I can't pronounce, can I pick another one?
I'll read it to you.
Oh, you read it.
Yeah,
okay.
I want to be the one.
This is scary.
All right, there are 53 questions in there. You chose question number 36. And the question is, when was the last time you experienced something that amazed you?
That amazed me. This is going to sound a little strange, but I can't tell you when it was, but like amazement in a very pure form of something that I just thought was crazy amazing was one of the space shuttles was flying over Texas, and its path back to Florida to land was going to take it right over Austin. And so the news had it calibrated when you could go out in your yard, and we were blessed with a really clear night, and we went outside and saw it. It was like a shooting star, and before we could get back into the house to tune in, it had already landed in Florida.
Wow.
So I thought, and then I saw something the other day watching a show where on their re-entry, they're traveling at 17,000 miles an hour, I think.
Oh my gosh.
And just the concept of how quick they're going,
Yeah.
and then just having astronauts fly over your house and then within a minute or two being landed in Florida.
Wow. Well, and that ties into where you were raised, and it connects with, because you were raised outside of Houston.
Yeah.
By the Space Center stuff.
Yep. And in that period, that's sort of the heyday of this manned space program. So
Yeah.
born in 61, so seeing all that in the late 60s.
I mean, that is the perfect age for the moon landing.
Yeah, just the excitement of all that. And then after the Apollo missions, our family moved a little closer to that Clear Lake area where the Manned Spacecraft Center is, and I had the privilege of going to school with astronaut kids, so that made it interesting too.
That's so
and,
cool.
And people that worked at NASA. One of my best friend's father was worked on the simulator for all the shuttle pilots, so I got to go to NASA picnics, family picnics,
Wow.
and that type of stuff. And there was also a hotel that was right across from the Spacecraft Center where NBC had a permanent rooftop booth where they would broadcast from all the missions, and we'd always drive down that part of the, so that was cool. So
That's
maybe
cool.
that I'd never thought of why I thought that was so amazing that the shuttle flying over us, but
Well, it's just another layer to, I mean, I don't think a person would need to have been raised in that area to find that amazing. I mean, that seems like a pretty cool thing. Where were you when Apollo 11 landed on the moon?
in Houston,
It was
watching
in the
on-
summer, so
yeah,
you were in school.
July.
Yeah, July.
And so watching it on TV, and I think I still have a box of all the Life magazines from that period and that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's neat. Do you find that as you get older, the things that amaze you, do you find that it doesn't take as much to amaze you, or that it kind of takes more to amaze you?
To the part of your question about whether that's age related, I think it's been pretty static. I think
okay.
I'm pretty hard to amaze. And when you ask that question about being amazed, and I always reflect on my answers, maybe too much. And there was part of me that was going to say I was amazed by a space shuttle versus the birth of my first kid, or it felt a little weird, but I guess it's how I defined amazing. That might not have been the most touching moment of my life.
Well, and
hopefully not,
it says what
but just
the
amazing.
last time. Yeah.
So I took the question literally.
Good. I wrote it literally. Yeah, I mean, it can't compare to something like that.
Yeah, and so am I easily amazed? Probably not. And I don't think it's gotten that I'm less or more amenable to being amazed with age. I think I'm touched more by different things versus amazed.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I was headed after you answered that last question, because you might think that you are hard to amaze, but as someone observing you, one of the things I like about you is that you seem willing to be touched by things. Maybe not easily amazed, but you seem present in your life, and present in a way that allows you to enjoy little moments. Maybe the big moments don't amaze you as much, but it seems like you are easily touched by the smaller moments. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And now I'm starting to think of more amazing moments than the space shuttle that have happened more currently.
Well, what's one of them?
Seeing an active volcano. That I think you and I've talked. That was on my bucket list.
That was in
To see
Hawaii,
another-
right?
Right, it was. Yeah, and we were fortunate and unfortunate that the trip was scheduled with seeing an active volcano, but it was too active at that point, so we couldn't actually get into the crater area of the national park. So we had to resort to a helicopter ride, which
You had to resort to that.
was much more expensive to but it was a bucket list thing, and so yeah.
Yeah. I feel like
seeing that much molten lava pumping out of the earth was,
Yeah.
yeah, that gave you a real sense that we're on a pretty volatile orb, that all that, you don't
Yes.
typically think about what's at the earth's core, or I don't. Maybe some people think about that kind
Yeah.
but yeah, seeing that physically was pretty amazing.
And the earth seems like such a static thing, and then you see something like that and you realize, oh, it is a living,
Yeah, we're still,
a living
things
thing.
are still evolving.
And it could swallow us whole
It
in
could.
2 seconds.
It could.
I feel like the stories that you've told me about different experiences you've had, I'm amazed by things that have happened to you. I like the fact that you I don't know that you have a literal bucket list, but maybe in your mind you have a sort of a working bucket list, but you do things on that list. Like, you mark things off. I think a lot of people just kind of have this theoretical thing and then never do anything about it.
Yeah, yeah, and it might not be that the bucket list isn't expansive. I mean, that was one of them. Seeing the Northern Lights is another one that I'd like to do, but I haven't made any efforts to do that because I guess you can't guarantee you're going to see something.
Yeah.
Just because of the nature of
Right.
nature. But yeah, so I think part of the bucket list type philosophy is where you commented that you've been entertained by some of my stories and think they're cool, is just getting out in the world.
Yeah.
And maybe not with a plan, but
Yeah.
just getting out.
That to me is your absolute superpower. Of all the things about you that I admire, that is the one that's on your bust in the Hall of Fame. Your ability to be out in the world without a plan and to find something interesting. You have a real kind of Tom Sawyer quality to
Oh, wow.
yourself.
Thanks.
I mean that as a compliment.
Yeah, and sometimes I worry that I don't have a plan, but I guess that's balanced by just being out. And not like I'm a world traveler or an explorer, but just getting out. I mean, just
Yeah.
being amongst people and trying to be out in your environment. Things may or may not happen,
Yeah.
but you're never going to know unless you're out there.
Yeah. And you've crossed paths with an insane number of famous people, celebrities, just
Yeah,
by
I've been
being out
lucky
in the
that, yeah,
world.
just being out.
It's so funny. What about Karen, your wife? What about her sense of being able to be amazed? Does it kind of match with yours?
Yeah, and I think that's what's made us a pretty happy couple and a couple that's been able to, navigate marriage and all the stuff that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to see the same beauty in the world, maybe at different times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
What a nice thing to have in common.
yeah, there's things that maybe she doesn't grasp, like lyrics of a song potentially, or a change in a song with a bridge or something that sometimes I get a little bit fascinated with,
Yeah.
and how great that was. But she respects it. I don't think she always picks up on the nuance of it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we're pretty copacetic with what we find joy in life.
That's got to be an underrated as like common ground in a couple. That's such a wonderful thing to share. What is something that you think she is kind of amazed by that maybe you don't understand, in the way that she might not understand why you were amazed at a particular thing?
That's a tough question.
Yeah, that's true. Please read your wife's mind.
So help me out again. What she?
Well, you said that like there are some things that you're amazed by, like the lyrics of a song, or the way that a bridge of a song makes a change in some way, and maybe she doesn't fully get that. Well, what's something that maybe she would be amazed by that you wouldn't fully, maybe that you don't fully understand?
That may be telling that I don't have a real quick answer for you. It might be the
Well,
shortcoming on my part to not.
It's a really personal question, too.
Yeah, it is. Thanks for asking. That will cause me some self-reflection when I leave here.
It's an impossible question to answer, because if if you recognized it, then you'd be amazed by it too. I don't think there's any way. I set you up to fail on that one.
No, because well, maybe, and I failed probably miserably. But yeah, that's a really good question for self-reflection about, am I paying enough attention to things that maybe are meaningful to her that I'm not giving credence to or giving the level of support. So that may help me become a better husband. So thanks, because it definitely didn't. Yeah, that was a tough question.
She's been texting me behind the scenes and saying, could you please make Scott a better husband?
That would take more than a few texts.
What about your kids? Do you think that they have developed a sense of wonder and amazement for things in the world, or are they? I feel like it's hard for people under a certain age to kind of lean into that or maybe see the value of it. Do you see that in them though at all?
Yeah, I do, and maybe not at times that I expect, but if it may be tied into your previous question, and that is how much you're paying attention.
Yeah.
And not trying to step back from yourself and not be so self-absorbed and analyze everything from your perspective as to see where they're coming from. So yeah, no, I do think that they both have a deep appreciation for the arts and music, and so they see beauty in things that both Karen and I do, whether it's art or architecture or human interactions or movies. So I do think that they do appreciate things and subtle things.
Do you have anything lined up? Trips or whatever? Because you guys do a lot of stuff. Do you have anything lined up that you're interested in a way that, you know, you think you might be amazed by something? Do you have trips planned or?
We do not. So I think you're pretty accurate in that we have as a family, and I think that's part of it, is that transition from our kids having their own lives and their own work and their own relationships. We've always sort of tried to plan vacations around a group and find some commonality that all four of us would like. You know, Karen's pushed us really into national parks, which has been great.
Oh, that's
so
wonderful.
We haven't, and she and I are both not troubled, but we're going to have to get a new strategy on how we do that and how we get a fun trip planned for us when it's just she and I. And if we're lucky enough to involve some of the kids. So no, at this moment we don't have anything. So we're just in the immediate future of Thanksgiving, Christmas mode,
right? Yeah.
Which is crazy. We're at that time period right now.
It'll be the new year in 2 seconds. And national parks are such an amazing place to be, to feel that wonder. And what is a national park that you've visited that really stands out as a place that, or not just national park, but maybe that you visited that really stands out in your mind in that way?
Yosemite was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Just because of the obvious geography and just the temperature and everything, but also not to get into environmentalism, but we went when there seems to be more environmental struggles with drought and all those types of things. So you're seeing, you want to see some of these things where they potentially disappear, which I think is going to give us more impetus to keep trying to visit parks.
Right.
And different parts of and maybe get out of just the North American thing. There's been some discussion to talk about traveling to some other places. So.
I love that. It seems like one of your family, the kind of the institutional values of your family is the fact that a recognition of the wider world, like you're living in a bigger world other than just your small existence here. And I think that in and of itself lends itself to having a sense of wonder or a sense of amazement about things.
Yeah, I would agree, and I don't know if this is cheating a little bit, but you told me before I made the trip over to think about some things, and maybe we hit it with some of your initial questions. What are some formative things about you? And I gave some facts, but I think maybe the more subjective thing is that exposure. I was fortunate enough to be raised by parents that did also want to explore and have a sense of wonder in their way. So there was a lot of family vacations, and mainly around family and not national parks. And that's one thing that maybe our nucleus of our family hasn't done. We go for parks versus going for family reunions, and I've struggled with maybe not keeping that trend with my family going. But there was always that, and I sort of, somebody asked me the other day when they found out that I was in juvenile justice as a profession, what did I see through all my experience of what kept kids from delinquency or from having troubled lives. And I said a few things, and because the question caught me off guard, but I think exposure. I mean, one of the things, I was a probation officer in a real small community, and a lot of the kids that I worked with had never been anywhere.
Yeah.
Their whole world was literally within a 4 square miles. That was their, and if that's your world, you can be pretty colored by that.
Yeah.
On if your world isn't very pleasant, and you don't have the options of getting out of that, it can be pretty constricting. And so I was really fortunate enough that my parents exposed me to a lot of stuff. I grew up in a small community, but it was abutted a very large community. So we had small town environment where you knew people and you knew your neighbors, but you could go see world-class art, sports within 30 or 40 minutes. So I was very fortunate there. But yeah, I always felt bad for some of my clients as a probation officer that their world was so small.
So small, yeah. And now you've passed that along to your girls.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully they'll want to get out and do things, and they have. One's wanting to go to Vegas, so I'm not sure that's not a national park, but.
Scott, thank you for being here. I want you to know, and I want to be on record, that I have many times been amazed just to be your friend. I think I know it's been a very rewarding experience to get to know you more, and I appreciate who you are and how you handle your business, and as a father and a husband, and I just appreciate that about you.
Thanks, and that's it. That's really those thoughts and how you give me that affirming feedback is the only reason I'm doing this, because I'm not sure anybody really is that interested in what I have to say, but I'm glad you are.
Well,
we'll see on where this goes.
How many millions?
Yeah.
Okay, have you brought something in to share with us as our benediction?
Benediction? Oh no, I didn't do that. But
that's what I call this segment.
And it's not. Yeah, I did. So I think I told you that I had some ones that I found much more meaningful, but they're longer, and so I'm not going to read one. So that seemed disingenuous. That's actually an important philosophy for me when I can't
Hamlet's
say it.
To be or not to be soliloquy.
I can tell you one of the few things that I've memorized of any length is the opening from Parliament's Mothership Connection album. I can say the entire intro to that. And why I've been able to remember that, but not what I had for lunch yesterday, is something that maybe a neuroscientist can remember. But yeah, so no, mine is pretty simple, and it was from I don't think very popular movie, Infamous. It was the story about Harper Lee and Truman Capote.
Yeah.
Going to Kansas to do Capote's background for the In Cold Blood book. Or was it a movie?
His book.
But it became a movie.
But it became a movie, yeah.
And I don't know if it was just a clever ad by the screenwriter or an ad lib, but there's where they go. The family that was murdered in the Cold Blood movie and book were called the Clutters, and they were a small Kansas family, and really an arbitrary, terrible murder. And in the movie, Harper Lee, who's been played by Sandra Bullock, is talking to a neighbor in the community about the family, and he as he wound down what his recollections of the family and or his fondness for the family, he said, "You're in control until you're not."
Hmm.
And that has always it's easy to remember. One is it's not
Right.
a long one, but it really sums up. I don't think it's a philosophy, but I think it's a forewarning that
Yeah.
you can only do so much,
Mm-hmm.
and that you have to be comfortable with that no matter what you do, whether it's your parenting, your career, you can do so much preparation, but you're really not in control.
Yeah.
There's outside circumstances that can uproot you and throw you completely off balance. So
Mm-hmm.
I think what I took from that, not only that I think that was simple and prophetic, but it also is maybe some guidelines on maybe how to live your life,
Yeah.
that you can only do so much, and not to be cavalier and just say I'm in control of nothing and you just float around like
Right.
the Big Lebowski or something without any purpose, but just to know that, you know, we are in a big moving universe, and there's only so much you can do, and learning when you've done enough, and but don't ever. I think I saw that quote repurposed as control is an illusion,
Mm-hmm.
and that's sort of fatalistic and maybe not in a positive way,
Right.
but I think you can put positives into that and how you live your life, and that is, you know, you can't worry about everything because some of those things are out of your control. So it's maybe not a philosophy so much as it's sort of some guardrails on where you find yourself emotionally trying to struggle with things and
Yeah.
make your life complete and do all the things you're supposed to do. So and it was, I forget the actor who delivered it, but the way they delivered it was very impactful too. It's just like it was, you're in control until you're not.